Call this meeting to order at 5:59 p.m. early. I first want to acknowledge that we are in Treaty 1 territory and then the land on which we are meeting is the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Ojibwe, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. As a council and a municipality, we will continue to work on moving forward in partnership with Indigenous communities in the spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. I'll ask for a motion to adoption of the minutes.
Resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held at City Hall on August 4th. Sorry. Resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held at City Hall on August 14th, 2023 be adopted as circulated.
Moved by Councillor Doyle, seconded by Councillor Nichols. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thanks. We have one delegation in the council chambers today for noise bylaw 897105. Jeff Weeb, if you want to come to the podium and state your name for the record, please. If you could just speak into the microphone.
Sure. I'm Jeff Weeb. It's a little bit intimidating. I was expecting that I'd be like down on the list of a long group of people that were bringing things up, but let me just introduce myself. My name is Jeff Weeb. I was born and raised here in Portage la Prairie. Beautiful wife, 4 wonderful children, and 5 awesome grandchildren. Very involved in our community.
Mr. Weeb, could you just lift the mic up a little bit there? Sorry, yeah. There we go. Thank you.
Is that better?
Yeah.
All right. I'm quite involved in our community, mostly through our local church, Golden Plains Baptist Church. I teach Sunday school there, work with the teens, and you probably see me on the avenue holding up scripture signs, trying to encourage Christians to live for Jesus Christ and think about eternity. I also work at High Tech Industries. I'm a senior manager there. I've been there for 28 years. My primary focus is on company policy and human resources. Back in 2005, we were a growing company here, and but we really struggled to find skilled workers. And we contemplated on moving our operations closer to Winnipeg, where we could find more skilled people. But at that time, I embarked on a journey to find immigrants with skills that we could bring to Portage la Prairie. And my first individual was in 2005, was a quality manager for Ford Motor Company in the Philippines. And he was also, previously to that, he was a paint line manager, and we really needed one. And so we brought him here. And since then, I've probably hired about 150 immigrants, and many have made their home here in Portage la Prairie and bought houses, brought family. And in the last 6 months, we've hired about 35 Ukrainian refugees or immigrants, and that had fled the war efforts there and looking for a country and a place where they can raise their families in peace. And so I also work with Miriam and Mustafa there at the Portage Learning Center, and also involved with the PLIP, the Portage la Prairie Local Immigration Partnership, as well. About 8 years ago, my son-in-law, he had a snow route here in Portage, and he had asked me for help when he got really busy. And so me and my boys, we would get out there, and we would grab some shovels and snow blowers, and we would help him with the heavy snowfalls. And since then, he has moved on to work for the CBSA as a border service officer, and he gave the snow route to my sons. And at that time, they were much younger, and so I needed to drive them around. And so they shoveled, and I ran the snow blower. But as they grew, they decided that that wasn't the career choice for them, and so they moved on. And but in the meantime, I had grown very close to the customers that we had, and I couldn't say no to them, and so I continued to take care of their needs there. But as I grew older, I realized I couldn't keep up that kind of a pace, and so I started looking for um, a better way of moving snow that was much more efficient. And so I
Mr.
bought
Weeb, you
a
have one more minute to.
I bought a tractor with an inverted snowblower, which is a very efficient, safe way of moving snow.
Mr.
And
Weeb, if you didn't hear me, you have one more minute. Sorry.
oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can do a driveway in as little as 1 minute. And what sets me apart from the other operators in town is that I want to bring the cost of snow removal down and provide a service where I remove the bulk of the snow and leave the fine details for the owners to clean up. By doing this, I can provide a service at a much lower price, yet providing the reliability that is needed. Um, One of the benefits of this kind of service is the ability for people to get out of their driveways quickly so that they can get to work or to the hospital or an emergency. My desire is that if we get hit with a lot of snow, that I can get out there very early to do the route so that people are not stuck at home. I would then wait until the snow stops and then go back and do a cleanup pass. And unfortunately, our current noise bylaw creates a barrier to provide this kind of a service. And so I provide you a letter with the details of what I'm asking for and outlining what some of the other cities are doing.
Thank you. Council has that letter in front of them, that information. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Weeb at this time? Councillor Porter? Just speak into your mic there, Terry, please. Yep.
Just a question I have for you. At what time were you planning on starting? What's the earliest?
It really would
What do you
depending on
think
the
of?
snow, right? So the more the snow, the faster it's coming down. Probably want to make sure that I get everybody out by 7 o'clock in the morning is what that's kind of what the standard is out there. If I look at some of the other companies that are doing it out east, they always try and get all their customers out by 7 a.m. because most of them have to get to work by 8 or 9.
And how many machines are you operating?
I just have one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good question.
Councillor Meyer?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Weeb, for presenting. The only question I have, we do know what the bylaw currently is, and I'm just still a little confused on exactly what you're asking for. Are you asking that the bylaw be rescinded or changed that you can allow equipment to run 24 hours?
That's correct. If you look at these other cities, and I'm just going by what other cities are doing, they usually have exceptions for snow blowing as a to make an exception for that noise bylaw.
Just a follow-up question, Madam Mayor. So 2 other follow-ups to that real quick is what is the sound of the equipment that you're currently operating? And second to that, what would you have to say to any complaints that would come across the table because of the noise that's generated from the equipment?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't have a noise disseminator that actually gives you what the decibel levels are of the tractor. I know it's a lot less than what a typical hand snowblower would be, but I could find that out for sure. I talked to the bylaw enforcement officer in Winkler, and he said there are some people that do complain about it. Once he says I get 1 or 2 calls in a year, but he says people need to get out of their driveways, and there they. If there's somebody that's even using a hand snowblower, they're not going to complain about it. If they need to get out, they need to get out.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
If council is okay, we can defer this to administration to look into further. Yeah. Okay.
Sure. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, we will now open public hearing for conditional use PC 55-23 for Maxine Carrolls from Foresight Real Estate Limited for Unit 2, 1760 Saskatchewan Avenue. I'd just like to know if there's anyone here to speak in favor of the application. Sure, if you want to come to the mic and state your name for the record.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Sure
Yeah.
can, yeah.
Maxine Carls here.
Thank you. Did you have a statement to make for us, or we just want to answer
I'm just
questions?
here for questions.
Awesome. Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Carrols? Do you? Councillor
Yes.
Meyer?
Sorry. Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Ms. Carrolls, for the request. The only question I have, obviously, is so this is just a group fitness studio. That is the full intent of it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Is it-
Various formats of group fitness, but that is the primary purpose. Yeah.
and no other operations that are considered beyond that.
No.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else have questions? No? For now, that's all for you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.
Ask if there's anyone here to speak, anyone else to speak in favor of the application? No. Anyone here to speak against the application? Are there any letters to be read out? No. If council has all their questions answered, I'll ask for a motion to close the hearing.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Be it resolved, and I so move that the public hearing for conditional use PC 55-23, Maxine Carroll's Foresight Real Estate Limited, Unit 2, 1760 Saskatchewan Avenue, now be closed.
That's moved by Councillor Meyer, seconded by Councillor Nichols. All those in favor? And that's carried. Councillor Meyer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And of course, Council, in front of you, you have the report, which is a request.
Sorry. Maxine, sorry, we're not done. If you want to just so, yeah.
Which is a request for a conditional use. Obviously, the reason is that it's not an allowable permitted use within the area, so that's why the applicant is applying for a conditional use. So it's to allow, of course, amusement center indoor, which is in a C3 Avenue commercial zone, to permit, as the client indicated, a group fitness studio. The background, as you've heard, is that the applicant is applying for conditional use to allow this to take place within a C3 Avenue commercial zone. For past information, first of all, the sketch is up there for your reference for the area. Council has approved in the past. The minutes are there for your reference, which where we allowed or council allowed indoor in a C2 central commercial zone for a members only fitness center. The application was circulated to various city departments. There have been no concerns. Public notices were sent to all property owners within a 100-meter radius, and as you can see, there's no objections. With that said, it's the administrative recommendation, and I so move, that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie approve the conditional use application of Maxine Carroll's Foresight Real Estate Limited to allow for amusement enterprise indoor in a C3 Avenue commercial zone at the property Unit 2, 1760 Saskatchewan Avenue West, which is legally described as lots 338, 340, Plan 15, Parish of Portage la Prairie.
Moved by Councillor Meyer, seconded by Councillor Nichols. Any questions or comments from anyone? I'll just make a comment that I'm excited to see this type of new establishment in our city, and exciting that it's on our new Saskatchewan Avenue. I'm not sure if anybody happened to catch on the wonderful world of Facebook the other day, but there was a really big debate or talk about wanting more opportunities for fitness centers and that in our community. So your timing might be perfect. So we're hoping that this will be a well-used business. So good on you. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Now we're done. Move to Finance, Legislative, and Property Committee, Councillor Massey.
Thank you, Your Worship. Finance, Legislative and Property Committee has no report at this time in the meeting.
Thank you. City Planning and Economic Development Committee, Councillor Meyer.
Thank you, Your Worship. City Planning Economic Development Committee has nothing at the agenda at this point.
Thank you. Community Services Committee, Councillor Espy.
Thank you, Worship. The Community Services Committee has nothing to report.
Thank you. Waterworks Committee, Councillor Nichols.
Thank you, Worship. Water Works Committee has nothing to report at this point in the meeting.
Thank you. Transportation Committee, Councillor Porter.
Thank you, Worship. Transportation has nothing to report.
Thank you. Public Safety, Councillor Doyle.
Thank you, Your Worship. Public Safety has nothing to report in council this evening.
We have no deferred business. We'll move right into new business, and we have July financial statements, and that is Financial, Legislative, and Property Committee, Councillor Massey.
Thank you, Worship. Colleagues, your July 31, 2023 financial statements are in your package. This is for your information only. We're not approving these tonight, but just a couple of comments about the statements that you should be aware of. First of all, our tax revenue, that is not the full amount at this point. That we have not received all of our revenue. Some of the programs that we had revenue for are not included in this statement, so keep that in mind when you're looking at revenue. These are not forecast statements. These are where we're at right now. So there's no forecasting here, so keep that in mind as well. In terms of Saskatchewan Avenue, all the claims have been made up to June 30th, but any invoices paid in July would not be reflected in these statements. So everything has been paid on Saskatchewan Avenue up to the end of June. And the year-end, as part of the year-end, there are transfers made from the general fund to the utility fund that have not yet occurred. So those are on the general fund side, and on the utility fund side, the utility revenue is recorded as the bills are issued, and the surplus there is mainly due to reserve transfers and utility contributions to the general fund that will not occur until the end of the year. So keep those in mind when you're reviewing these, but these are for your information. But if you have any questions, be pleased to try to answer them, or administration will answer them.
Thank you. Any questions for Councillor Massey? Thank you. We have another item of new business, the award RFP for external audit services. Again, Finance, Legislative, and Property Committee, Councillor Massey.
Thank you, Your Worship. And colleagues, this evening we are to award the external audit services contract for our city. And the background on this, as you know, the contract expired after our last audit in 2022. The administration approached our partner organizations. So there we have planning, the Recreation Authority, the landfill, Handyvan, and the library, to determine if they would agree to be included in the request for proposal for these services. And I think that's a good move, that we've included our partners now to be part of an audit instead of everyone doing their individual audit. They were all included, and they had the option to exit the RFP if the pricing exceeded their budget. So they had an opportunity to have input into this. The RFP was advertised on MERX, which we have to do with the 2 trade agreements governing municipalities. And the RFP was sent to the 3 audit firms that provide external audit services to similar-sized Manitoba cities and our incumbent. The RFP closed August 25th, 2023, and 2 submissions were received. The tender is for a 3-year contract period extending from 2023 to 2025. And you can see how the proposals were evaluated, experience and competency of the proponent and their team, and proposed audit strategy and understanding of the proposal, and sustainability factors. And you can go on to see how the proposals were ranked, and they were independently evaluated by our administration, and the results are, as you can see, the difference between the MNP bid and the BDO bid. Administration is recommending awarding the tender for the external audit services to BDO with the highest total points of 96.13, and the detailed 3-year pricing for the recommended proponent is listed below. The BDO proposal received the highest technical rating due to experience and project team, as well as their planning process, detailed audit, testing procedures, and scheduling of their work to meet the needs of each of our organizations' year-end audit. And each organization should bring forward a resolution. These are our partner organizations, to the respective board of directors to approve their own organization's portion of the contract for external audit services. So we're awarding the contract tonight. We've included all of our partners, organizations. So therefore, I'm prepared to move that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie approve BDO Canada LLP as the auditors for the City of Portage la Prairie for a 3-year term beginning with the audit for 2023 for the following costs, excluding applicable taxes. 2023, $55,000, 2024, $58,850, and 2025, $62,970. Thank you, Your Worship.
That's moved by Councillor Massey, seconded by Councillor Meyer. Any questions or comments? Councillor Meyer?
Thank you, Your Worship, and to Councillor Massey, maybe through to administration. So just for clarity, what we're approving here right now is just the city's portion. The other partners, the PRA, Planning District, PRED, Landfill Authority, Portage Van Regional Library, they have to approve this after the fact. If any of these partners don't approve that, does that affect our package price, and do we have to go back to another resolution?
Mr. Pito?
Through your worship to Councillor Meyer, yes, you are correct. We are just approving the city portion. You're also correct that each partner would have to approve it independently, and if they have, if this quoted price exceeds their budget, they are able to decline that proposal.
So just a quick follow-up, Your Worship, just so, does that change the bottom end package price if one of the, because I'm assuming this is a package based on all of them, right? Does that change the bottom line pricing at all if one of the partners pulls out? Not that I anticipate that, but.
There was provisions in the RFP that gave the partners the right to pull out, so it does not impact the price should one pull out.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions? All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. We have one last item of new business. It's the July 2023 building reports from City Planning and Economic Development. Councillor Meyer.
Thank you, Your Worship. Without belaboring it, obviously you'll see the reports there that are both for city and rural for the month of July and the current year to date. As usual, being a regional organization, I do draw your attention to the combined totals. You will notice a couple of things. One is that you'll see that our single housing starts are down for the permit-wise in a dollar value, although the number of permits are up a little bit. Not really an indication of anything at this point, and it's not following any trend. We'll see that the double or your duplexes are up considerably in the dollar value in the permits when it's 3 times what it was this time last year. I'd point out a little bit of repair, which means there's still 35 permits for just repairing of residential houses. So it shows you that our community is investing back into their properties, which is what you really want to see in a growing and thriving community. On the commercial side, we do realize that it is down a little bit on the new, but you're also going to see the same, look at the significant increase into the repairs. So shows you that not only are residential properties investing, but also commercial properties are investing in the repair of their own facilities as well. Industrial, we knew it was going to go down, obviously considerably in the dollar value, but that's been made up far and exceeded by the institutional. So the new, of course, would refer to the hospital, where the number of permits come up, and that we're almost at $40 million there. The only other thing I want to point out is the RTM, still a cottage industry, still moving strong, and I know that we're going to certainly see that increase. So last year to this year, exactly the same number of permits, but due to the hospital as well, we're up over just about $18 million from where it was in the current year. So it's really a positive report. I know I sound cheesy, but I get excited every time I see it, only because it gives you the real on-the-ground picture of what's happening within economic development and growth within our city. So that's all I can tell you, unless you have any questions, and we do have the planning district here. So
Thank you. And we all appreciate your enthusiasm. So thank you. We will adjourn council at 6:24, and we will go right into committee, calling committee to order at 6:24 p.m. We'll start with Finance, Legislative, and Property Committee. Councillor Massey.
Thank you, Worship. Colleagues, Finance, Legislative, and Property Committee has no report in committee this evening.
Thank you. City Planning and Economic Development, Councillor Meyer.
Thank you, Your Worship. Next council meeting, council, I will be bringing a proposal to subdivide as indicated already on the report to council. So this just is really cool that it falls on the heels of the way our building permits and that have increased as well. So what the applicant wishes to do is quite simply take a couple of holdings that he has now, or that they have now, and subdivide the land into actually 4 lots and then build 2 family dwellings with it. So the background is there for your information. The development plan policy does fit within that in regards to or complies with the housing mix and the affordability portion. There are a couple of conditions. One of the conditions that would be looked at, obviously, is that any existing dwellings and accessory structures are torn down prior to any of the development, and that a zoning bylaw amendment would have to be obtained to rezone the proposed lots from R1 from R1 residential single family zone to obviously multifamily for the duplexes. So that's coming up next council meetings, and again, it does fit within the minimum site requirements, so there's no actual variances that are required at this point, just the current conditions that are there right now. So,
Thank you.
questions on that?
Any questions?
Perfect. So this is just a proposal for subdivision at this point in time. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Community Services Committee, Councillor Espy.
Thank you, Your Worship. At this time, through Your Worship, I'd like to call upon Mary Kozar from PCRC to give us a presentation on the Reaching Home program.
Good evening. So last council meeting, Mayor Knox had asked for more information on the Reaching Home program. So this program is funded through the Government of Canada, which is then flowed through the Brandon Neighborhood Renewal Corporation, which is a sister organization to PCRC. And Reaching Home is a housing first initiative. So we provide services to people regardless of what other services they want to engage in. And sometimes that may mean that they aren't seeking addictions treatment at the time or mental health services, but they still need housing. So we work with them to help provide them with permanent, stable housing and wraparound support services so they can get what they need to become permanently stabilized. And we've seen really positive success with this model in different communities. So when a client first comes to PCRC, they are first connected with the Ask Auntie program. So Ask Auntie is a service navigator at PCRC. So she'll assess what that client needs, if it's, filling out forms once, if they need immediate food support, if they need help with advocacy to different services to be stabilized and then moved into other services, or assesses if they need to be moved into the full Reaching Home program. Along with that, she also does things like fill up the little pantries that are around the community and look for more food security funding, because we're always in need of that in Portage la Prairie. So if someone is in need of the full Reaching Home program, they are connected to the coordinator, who then does a full assessment and looks to see if they have ID, if they are getting an income from any kind of source, other immediate services they may need, like medical, referrals that could be immediate because we know wait times are long for different services. And then they will be connected to a Reaching Home case manager. So the timeline for that can be quick depending on what the client has and what they may need. So any kind of ID support can take, up to 6 months to get, and you can't be housed without ID typically. So that can be a barrier. We will pay for IDs to reduce that barrier and try to get them faster. We've done things like connecting directly with bands to have status cards reissued, or reapplying to the full enhanced status card applications, which can take quite a while. We have had some success printing photo identification from places like probation or other government services that might have them on hand. We try to fast track EIA if possible. So if there's, other organizations working with someone, sometimes we can move that process along quicker. We also have the ability to pay damage deposits and get first month's rent paid quickly so that we can house them and they're not waiting on EIA to be issued for that. And we will also help get them set up in the beginning. So when somebody moves in, they're not left with nothing. We'll provide them with incidentals. We'll do a first grocery shop with them, make sure they have some kind of furniture and like clothing and really meeting their basic needs, and then connect them to other services. And with that, the case managers also do follow-up for a full year. So they'll do check-ins to make sure that clients are meeting the needs of their landlord and maintaining stable housing and avoiding eviction. Some of them have never been housed before on their own. So making sure they know when they should be doing cleanings, taking out garbage, those kind of tasks. We've also received additional support for different projects that support Reaching Home. So we recently received $170,000 from the Department of Families for our Medicine Wheel project. So that will support 2 part-time positions to support clients in the evenings and Saturdays to move into employment and out of the justice system. So there's incidental funding to set them up with more training, transportation to make sure they can get to work. And we're just kicking it off this month. So we've got 1 person hired for the project and we're working on the next one. We've also received almost $15,000 through the RCMP Family Violence Initiative Fund to do additional training for frontline service providers in our community over the next year, and different presentations to promote the programs that we're currently running at PCRC to support clients. And we also received an additional $38,000 from BNRC this year to set up an emergency e-suite in a private rental. So we'll have access to a rental unit and be able to move people in and out of it more efficiently than if we were tagging in other landlords. So we'll have access to the suite, we'll be able to move people in, and then once we find them permanent housing, we can move them into that permanent housing and move somebody else into that apartment. And I am happy to answer any questions you may have about these projects.
Councillor Doyle?
Thank you for that, Mary. I just had 2 questions. The first one is, does the project seek out the individuals as they see, or do the individuals seek out the project?
Both. So, we've provided a number of organizations in Portage with all of the information on Reaching Home, and they are constantly busy. Like, they are one of our busiest programs at PCRC. So we have people knocking on our door every day for different services, whether that's food, or we also have a community mailbox. So people will send people to PCRC when they don't have a permanent address to send their mail to, and will receive their mail as a safe place, and they can come pick it up.
Thank you. And the only other question I had is the project teamed up with any property manager, or how do you find the suites for the people?
So we use a variety of landlords, and we're always looking at what rentals are posted online, but we have built some really strong relationships with the landlords. So we will call them if we're looking for something really specific, or they'll let us know when they should have an apartment available, and then we can, attain it faster than just looking online too.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Meyer?
Thank you, Worship, and thank you, Ms. Kozar, for that presentation. Great program. So this is just so I understand clearly, this is just transitional housing, am I right? And it's not transitional housing? or transitional?
Reaching home entirely?
Yeah.
No. So once
Okay.
they're placed in an apartment, they'll receive services from Reaching Home for up to a year, but they will stay housed at that location until they choose to move again.
Okay. You'd indicated earlier that if once they're settled in, you find them help them find another place, a more permanent
We
place to
will
live, or
for
did I
the
misunderstand that?
emergency suite that we're renting,
Oh,
or
just-
what, like the apartment that we're calling an emergency suite.
Just from the emergency
Yes.
rental suite, and
Yeah.
then they'll go into that place, and then hopefully there's long-term
Yes.
housing at that point in time. Thank you, Ms. Kozar.
Councillor Massey?
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Mary, for the presentation. Just as a citizen of Portage, if I wanted to get involved in this, what would you say is, I mean, the needs are immense. Money, volunteerism, is there opportunities to donate in kind? What, just, if someone asks me as a counselor, how can I get involved in helping this organization?
Definitely. So we do have a couple fundraisers that we're running through Reaching Home. One is the co-op gift card fundraiser. So you can purchase gift cards from the Reaching Home team, and a portion of the proceeds will stay with Reaching Home. And the other one is the Flocking Flamingo fundraiser. So they will flock your yard or somebody else's if you choose to pay for that. And it's really fun, and it's a ton of pink flamingos. So they can call our office at 240-7272, and we can connect them with that.
Yes, I'm aware of pink flamingos. I grew up in Transcona, so but just in terms of, is there opportunities to volunteer? I know you have probably you need some qualifications dealing with some of the people that you're dealing with, but are there opportunities to volunteer here? Like we have other organizations that people volunteer for. Like, can we actually get involved? And I know there has to be checks and balances on people who volunteer, but
It hasn't come up yet with Reaching Home, but we would certainly be open to talking to anyone who is looking to volunteer, and they can do the same thing, call our office, and we'll assess from there.
Thank you. Anyone else? Questions? No? I think the biggest thing about this program, and that I think we're very fortunate to have it in our community, and I know maybe you want to share some numbers, because I think numbers are astounding as to how many people we've helped, but it really reaches people where they're at with what they need, and it's individually oriented to meet their needs rather than being a blanket approach for people. And people do get involved. Like, people often ask, what are we doing about helping our unhoused population in Portage la Prairie? This program is it, right? And Mary, do you have some numbers you could share even?
Well, last fiscal year, we housed 44 individuals, and that was almost triple from the year before. So we know the need is growing every year, but we're doing what we can, and it seems to be working well. And I know that we've seen less community members around through the summer months that have been visibly unhoused. So we also had a call from the fire department this summer because they encountered someone who was unhoused, and instead of calling RCMP, they called our Reaching Home team, which is really positive, and providing better services to people in our community.
Yeah. Excellent. And when somebody says, well, how do you, part of the program too is doing point in time counts, right? So if you don't know what that means, it's where this team, part of the team, goes out and assesses the community and actually counts how many people are unhoused at the time. So when they say that there's less, then they actually have the statistics to know that. So I appreciate you coming to do this. So Councillor Espy.
Thank you for that presentation. And any of my colleagues that have anything related to Community Services Committee, I invite you to present that now.
Councillor Massey.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have just a couple of quick things. I was pleased on behalf of Mayor and Council to bring greetings to the Hoop and Holler on our island. If you ever want to see a beautiful setting on a Sunday afternoon, you go to the island with music. It's an incredible setting. We have a lot to be proud of on that island. And a shout out to our MC, Councillor Preston Meyer. He wasn't there as a councillor, but he MC'd the event, and he did an outstanding job, I'll tell you. He gives to this community in ways other than being a councillor, so well done, Councillor Meyer. one exciting thing I do want to make council aware of at our library. I know you're tired of me, but it's just good news after good news. But we had an issue, and I want to thank Councillor Porter, who's on the Heritage Committee with James Kostachuk, but there was an issue of getting the old daily graphics online. They are on microfiche, and we needed to find a host, and there was a lot of technical problems. Well, thanks to the work of Councillor Porter, James Kostachuk, myself, and Jen Kendall, we've now got a host, and the Heritage Committee did get a grant to digitize these so they can be put on a website. So now, all the archived daily graphic, the old daily graphic from 1910 to 1926 are now available on our website at the library. So you can go in there, and you might have relatives that passed away who were involved in our community. Farron, you were there in 1910? No, sorry, Councillor Nichols. No, he pointed at himself. And so there's another batch, hopefully, that we'll be able to do. But we found a host, which was the key. So I just want to thank the Heritage Committee and the library, Jen Kendall, particularly for finding a solution to this. And thank you, Councillor Porter. It was a great working together on something that I think will leave a lasting legacy at our library. So thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you.
I would just like to add to that it is very exciting to have something like that available online. And because I've done several projects on history, and I've spent months, weeks, hours at the archives downtown. And just to have it at your fingertips, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be great for schools, projects, and just going back and finding your own history in life. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Waterworks Committee, Councillor Nichols.
Thank you, Your Worship. Waterworks Committee has nothing here at this time in committee unless anyone has something they wish to share about Waterworks, other than the wonderful job we're doing. And thank you for that.
Thank you. Transportation Committee, Councillor Porter.
Transportation has nothing to report at this time, but what I'd like to bring up is it's really looking good there on Saskatchewan Avenue, and we're starting to see the end of the light. And great job and great communication with our residents of Portage, and it's very much appreciated. And we're looking forward to the next, see how much we get done before winter.
Excellent. Citizens can find the update on the Facebook page and the City of Portage la Prairie website. Public Safety Committee, Councillor Doyle.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple things for public safety. The first would be the COPP program in Portage had their annual golf tournament for charity last Thursday. We saw quite a few people out there. I didn't get a tally as of meeting time today as to what the total was that was raised, but it looked like everyone had a good time and everyone was opening up their wallets for charity, so that's good. And to stay on the topic of COPP, we also had our meeting on the last Tuesday of August, and the recruitment is up and the patrol hours are also up, which is promising. So that is all I have for my committee report this evening, unless anyone else would like to speak to it.
Just on the COPP, I have been asked, and I always like to clarify with people because I sometimes get asked, why does COPP hold a golf tournament and raise money for other organizations? Because they choose to raise money for other youth organizations in the community. And the reason is because COPP is based on crime prevention in a community, and having youth involved in meaningful activities is a way for crime prevention and having youth involved in things. And so that's why they choose to do that as part of their community involvement. That's the answer to that. Nothing else? We'll adjourn committee at 6:44 p.m. Thanks for coming out, everyone.